So we have a town hall meeting here every quarter at City Hall. And that's an open time for citizens to discuss their concerns.
I'm on the board, HOA board for Sterling Place, and if I don't get my point across, I think I won't get across. Sterling Place, it's a mature, savvy subdivision. You got to be 55 plus to live in it. And there's 122 homes, 186 people. Our roads are in terrible shape. You've got cracks in the road, you've got undulation, you've got water, the big grills on the ground where it's swelling up. When I'm walking, I feel like I'm walking in the same path because it's sunk down on the side of the road where I'm walking. So we need some help with the roads. Being a 55 plus community, we have quite a few people that are in wheelchairs. And streets are usually far better with a wheelchair, mobile wheelchairs to run on. It's getting to where they can't even do that because there's cracks, holes, you're not sure what you're going to do.
Some items coming up on the agenda. One to note is obviously our budget. We set our tax rate. So anything that's going to be, any projects that are going to be funded through the year would have to be included in the budget. That's item number one on the regular agenda. There's a series of amendments that I think are going to be introduced tonight to that budget. One that I'm sponsoring for consideration is adding the funding for Sterling Place. And so that'll be up for consideration, provided I get a second.
Sir?
What I was going to say, Jerry, is that your streets, what I've been told is that your streets are all sevens. You're rated as sevens.
Well,
so we have the. Let me.
Go ahead. I'm just trying to think.
The streets are rated 1 through 10, with 1 being the worst street in Lakeland.
Yes.
So your streets are sevens.
Right.
My streets are 4. I'm not getting paid. As a matter of fact, every street around me has been repaid. I mean, all of them, all of Stonebridge. I was one of the first ones there in 1999. Think about this before tonight. Are you aware of this? This was going on. If this was going to come up.
I didn't know if people would show up tonight, but
Have you heard anything about these streets being repaid?
I mean, I had no idea anybody was going to be here tonight. I mean, I will tell you.
Mayor Bunker, have you heard about it?
And they've reached out. I mean, they've reached out, and I've personally been out there to kind of look at the roads. I'm certainly not an engineer by any stretch. I depend on the city engineer to help provide that information, but I've personally been out there and sort of looked at the roads. I didn't know that it was quite a mile, but obviously a loop in, and I'm trying to remember the name of the gentleman that was out there to meet us. It was somebody on the board, and now his name escapes me. But nice gentleman, enjoyed talking with him, sort of drove around a little bit, looked at some of the roads, and but as far as a group turning out tonight, no, I had no idea
I
anybody
was
be here
asking
tonight.
the question.
Yeah.
I wasn't giving up my turn to speak. So talking to a lot of the citizens about the roads and what numbers their streets are, because everybody wants their streets cleaned. I want mine paid, you know, everybody does. So what happened was that recently was that Mayor Bunker went to starting place. I think he talked to the president
Correct.
of the homeowner association.
Correct.
And promised them, I mean, this is along with the city officials, but along with the city officials, he promised them he was going to pave the roads. So I'd like to know that by what authority does Mayor Bunker get to go to a subdivision and say, I'm going to pave your roads? He did.
He did not say that, sir. With all due respect, he
Hang on a second.
did
Hang on
not
a
say
second.
that.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Commissioner Plum, let me say this. There's going to
No,
be
wait a minute, I'm still talking, okay?
I'm going to take this as chairman of this body.
Don't start that
As
again.
chairman of this body,
I'm
I
telling you,
will recess
I did
this
not-
meeting.
I did not receive the floor. I'm
I
still
will
talking.
recess this
I'm
meeting.
still talking, okay?
This town hall
I
is
don't
for
know,
citizens'
I'm still talking.
opportunity to speak.
You have to be quiet because I'm still talking, okay? Now, after I finish, you have the chance to talk, okay? But for right now, I'm talking.
Commissioner Plum,
I'm
I
right
will
now, I'm
recess
talking.
this meeting.
I've told you before that it's my turn to talk. If I give up the floor, then you talk any all you want to, okay? So what happened again?
Commissioner
What
Plum,
happened again is that
you do not have
the
the floor.
bunker, no, I had the floor.
You're out of order. You will give
Point
up
of
the
order,
floor.
point of order.
Make your point.
You're telling me I'm not out of order, and I'm not out of order. You're the one that's out of order.
You are out of order.
You know, he pulls the stuff.
You're attacking,
Every-
you're attacking citizens.
I'm not
I'm
attacking
trying to tell you,
anybody.
I'm trying to tell you that there's going to be a time to debate these things. This is a town hall for our citizens to speak to us, right? We're going to have a debate
He
on
asked
this
for-
issue.
He asked if there was any questions, and I had a question.
That was from his citizens. You don't have a question, you have a statement.
Well, I'd like to finish my statement.
No.
But I would still like to hear what you have to say. I would like you to continue whatever you were trying to say earlier. I'm going to
Earlier?
I'm asking you to finish.
Thank you. So what happened was that...
All right, do we have anyone else that would like to speak to the commission?
Just not going to let him speak, are you?
Yeah, no, he's not.
I'm going to let the citizen speak. He's out of order.
Mayor Bunker was speaking to me when he said, I have no control over promising you that your streets will be paved. I can recommend it to the commission. They are the ones who make the final decision. So do not say that he promised us. He said, I agree that your streets need to be paved. And I would say, and the city engineer was there, they said, I would say, both of them said that these are free. Not a 7. They have been rated as a 7, but they are a 3. He never promised that he had the power to say, we will pave your streets.
Good.
I want to set the record straight.
Okay.
So,
You might fill out one of the cards right there next week. Anybody else want to speak? All right, seeing none, then we will adjourn our town hall.
Can I
meeting directly
speak?
to budget.
Can I finally speak? Can I speak?
Would you like to speak on one of the issues on the agenda? If you will, then I'm going to give you the time you want.
You're what?
I'm going to give you the time you want. You were speaking to an issue on the
Well, I
agenda.
was talking to the lady that was the English teacher, the young lady that was at the microphone.
Certainly, we're at your disposal, Commissioner. Go ahead.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Or go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
First off, let me speak to all the people here first, starting place. Is that I'm not trying to keep anyone from having their roads paved. Everybody wants their roads paved. What I'm talking about is the way our mayor wanted about how he's going to get
I
the
was at
streets
that
paved.
meeting with the mayor.
But
I was at that meeting, the way the mayor went about it, the mayor never said anything. I was at the meeting when the mayor, and I think you came out with him,
That's right.
there was never an issue said at all.
okay, let me finish here. Anything about this at all before tonight? Are you aware of this? This is going on. This was going to come up.
I didn't know if people would show up tonight, but
Have you heard anything about these streets being repaved?
I mean, I had no idea anybody was going to be here tonight. I mean, I will tell you. Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't let me finish while ago because I was dismissed. But the roads are in terrible shape. A lot of roads in Lakeland are in terrible shape, as I can hear today. But what you were on me about was the mayor didn't have the authority. The mayor never did. He came out humbly and asking the engineer. The engineer told us they were subs, and they are subs. That's what she says, that's what they are.
The engineer was there. They said, I would say, both of them said that these are free.
And they've been fixed over top of each other, over top of each other, over top of each other. I'm not an engineer, I don't know how to grade between 1 and 10. But the mayor, was not the issue. You were hiking on the mayor. He never said that. He did not come across that way. He came out there to meet with us, and that's what we appreciate. But, I mean, you came to me a while ago saying your code has not been paid. Well, how many houses are in your code?
I'm not sure the real 50.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's about 9 in your code, right?
How many?
9 or 10 houses in your code?
Try about 50.
Well, I mean, I know where you are. You're on number 9. There's 100 houses, 122 homes there. When you were saying what yours was doing, I don't know how they grade the parties or whatever. That's why we're going to. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Tom.
And Sherry, I wasn't going against you, I really wasn't. We've been friends for a long time. And I didn't mean, if I came across that way, I apologize to you, okay? I really didn't, you know. What I want to go back to, though, is that I wasn't at the meeting either. I mean, I can't tell you what exactly the mayor said at the meeting. What I'm going back to is that there was a letter that went out to every person in Starting Place. And it just said, had a meeting with the mayor, city officials that were there. They're going to change the budget. They're going to change the budget to, didn't he say, and they're going to pave our streets. That's what the letter said. And when I looked at it, next week I'll bring a copy of that letter. Because he said this year, if they get the meeting, he said, come to the meeting and support their voter, because we want our streets paved. I mean, the method of
Try
that.
to get them paid. They didn't say it was going to get it paid, it was to try to get it paid.
I'll bring a copy of the letter for anybody, anyone that wants to, that's the way I interpreted it. So if anyone wants to read it, I'll have a copy of it. And then if I'm wrong, you know, I'll apologize, you know, but I don't think I am, you know.
All right, do we have a motion to get this to the floor? Let me announce something. Let me announce something before everybody leaves. There's not going to be a meeting next week to come to. So this is the only meeting for this month. I didn't know everybody was going to leave. I thought you were going to stay for the actual meeting and discussion on the budget. But if you do leave, make sure you know that there is no meeting next week. Okay. All right. Thank you. That their roads are deteriorating at a rapid rate, faster than other areas because the road bed itself is I guess, I don't know if defective is the right word or what, but there's problems with the road bed that reflect themselves in the actual surface of the road. As I drove through there, the effect on my vehicle back and forth, you could feel pretty good dips in the road. There's alligator cracking, there's holes in the road. It's pretty bad in some areas. There's some areas that are pretty good. The last scoring we actually had on this was a year ago. So the actual condition of the roadway as we speak today is probably not a 7. All right, it's probably less. But that's not what led me to push for this. What led me to push for this was the fact that as you know, I've been over there and talking with them and actually meeting with them in the past, I've noticed that a lot of their activities involve the roadway. It's like one resident said, he called it common area for their subdivision. So they have more community gatherings than you generally see in other subdivisions because the nature of the subdivision is a 55 and older community. So socially, they use the roadways for special events. Second thing, every morning you see them out there walking their dogs and exercising and riding their scooters on the roadways. And the safety is a consideration. A fall for a 80-year-old is different than a fall for an 8-year-old, right? Probably a different outcome than there would be between the two. So that was all considered as well. So the rate of deterioration on these roads, I think, is greater because of what's going on under the surface. The use of the roadway is different because of the nature of the subdivision itself being a senior community, and the threat of injury is more probable and probably more devastating because of the age of the individuals that are using that roadway. So that's what led me to push for this. I thought it was. They also made the point that they pay into our tax rate, and because they don't have children in the schools, they don't where most of the money goes. They don't see as much value for their dollar as do your average citizens. And for whatever value that is to everybody, I mean, that was a comment, and I thought somewhat valid. So that's the reasons I'm pushing this, welcoming input from commissioners.
Yeah, to discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Matt, right? You go.
No.
Commissioner.
No.
Okay. Good. Commissioner.
Sure. Those roads are not that bad. They're 7s. I mean, there's a lot more roads that need repair. This is an election year. If you don't know, there's about 250 votes in that subdivision. And the fact is, that's why you did it. You did it for votes. And I talked to Commissioner Wright when we started about starting this turning place, and I said, "You know anything about that?" He said, "No." I asked you, "You know anything about this?" "No." And then I found out later, you were there with it.
My point was, I didn't know anybody. was gonna
I'm
be here
still
to
talking, okay? I'm still talking, yeah. I've got the floor, okay? Yeah.
It's fine.
So, all right. Anyway, so this is just a political ploy. Everybody knows what it is. It's all for votes. That's all it is, yeah. Because before he brought this up, and Jim, you weren't honest with me. I asked you 2 days ago. Didn't I ask you 2 days ago if this was going to come up? Oh, no, I don't know. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. So did you lie to me?
No, this was brought up by me.
I'm talking.
Yeah, I'm answering the question. He didn't know. I asked that this be drafted right before actually, the public hearing was going on while they were drafting this.
Does anybody believe that? I know I don't, yeah. That was great, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you're quick on your feet. But I'm still telling you, it's a political ploy. Everybody up to tonight or before the meeting could not stand the mayor. They don't like him at all, you know? But now he's probably going to get, I don't know how many votes, but if you'll pave my road, Mr. Mayor, I'll think about voting for you. That's what it's all about, yeah. So I'll just let it go with that, you know, and I can't wait for the election.
Yep.
About flaws.
Yeah, I'll comment. I mean, I'm not going to retort to most of that. So I will say, I was over there. I had no idea anybody was going to be here tonight. But the point that they make about using their streets as a common space, I think, is a valid point. We could sit here and pick out streets all throughout Lakeland. Quite frankly, my street needs paving, but I'm not asking for it right now. I think we could find dozens and dozens of roads and streets in Lakeland that we could make an argument one way or the other that needs to be repaired. The one thing that I do have sympathy for these folks on is the fact that they use these streets for their scooters to get out and enjoy themselves at night. There are quite a few, as the gentleman said, extremely senior citizens in there. I'm sensitive to the fact that, well, two things, Mr. Mayor. Number one, that we do invest a lot of money in schools, and that doesn't benefit them other than property values and things like that. I think I can make a correlation to it. But number two, we're getting to a point where we're about to build an athletic facility. More than likely, they won't use that either. And so I'm open to their argument and that the need for it is there. And lastly, I'll say this. I support it. I'm not running. It has nothing to do with an election for me. It has everything to do with trying to help these folks out and get them what they need as best we can. So it certainly has nothing to do with an election from my personal standpoint. Commissioner Wright, if you got something you'd like to say, I'll yield the floor to you.
Yeah, I was wondering, because when it comes to the grading, it just has to do with the condition of it. Are you going by different squares and saying this is the actual asphalt, the condition of the asphalt, or is it the ride, which are two different things?
No, I mean, the ride is sort of taken into it, but it's not, we're not driving down the road to do the assessment.
Yeah.
We're physically walking the road.
As I drove through there, the effect on my vehicle back and forth, you could feel pretty good dips in the road.
So we look at, there's there's about 10 different types of failure. Some of them are distortions, so that would be what you're feeling with the ride. But there's other things too. So we have to walk it to see all those, and you're actually measuring the different types of failures, and then you put them into a spreadsheet, and you look at it as a total, all the failures across the board. Right, so it's a pretty complex spreadsheet that you wind up with, a number at the end.
Right. Yeah, so like with Sterling Place, because I think so much goes into, a lot of traffic goes from one end, from the floor all the way to the back. I think it's one of those neighborhoods, because it's been patched up, I think.
There's been patching in there, but
It's a
pretty
it's a
common.
more bumpy ride than, there's some other neighborhoods I think that have rougher roads, but it's not necessarily as bumpy and as dangerous. That's the way, I guess, so the grading is a tricky thing to me. It's
Well,
kinda-
yeah, and so another thing, like a lot of the points that the mayor made aren't things that are considered in an engineer's pavement assessment.
Right,
We're looking
right.
at the condition of the pavement. We don't look at the way that the road is used. We
Right.
don't look at the age of the people. We don't look at any of that. We look at the physical pavement. So
And I think
there are
that's-
other considerations that are being taken here.
And that's what I'm trying to allude to.
Yeah,
I think
yeah. So,
we're looking at different neighborhoods that need it.
Aren't there sidewalks in Circus Street?
Hang on one second, we're having a discussion, we can't just have open discussion.
And that's why I think that's what goes
I
into
can
the
call on
algorithm.
you in just 1 second if you,
That's what goes into the algorithm, right? You bring the hard data, so to speak, we bring the personal aspect to it, so to speak, and that's where the balance is sort of constructed.
I think it, as I was approached with this and actually as I met with them, I just thought, they are the only 55 and older community, and so there's really not a precedent set anywhere for what state you maintain their roads in, but, as a policy maker, I would think that probably pretty reasonable to think that because of the use of their roadways in their community, it's different than what we see in our communities or in our neighborhoods. Because of that, I think it's reasonable to maybe maintain their roadways to higher standards. And that being said, there's problems with I guess subsurface is what you would call it, whatever.
well, there is some distortion in the road, which would indicate that we have had a pretty good sized area that we actually had to call in a consultant to do some soil surveys, and this was, 5 or 6 years ago, and we replaced a fairly good section of road and had to do some over excavation and stuff like that, and that is still holding. So it may, I think a lot of that subdivision was filled, and so that's probably where some of this is coming from, as you're getting
And so
settlement and
when you
things
have,
like that.
when you have problems in the subsurface, then it would be reasonable to think if you have, problems there, then you're going to have a greater rate of deterioration in revenues.
That's possible. The fact
So
that,
that's kind of the point the guy was making out there, the guy
Right.
that was a construction expert. And you had said that these things, the last time they were reviewed were last year.
it was a 2017, yeah. So we
So
try to
it's
do it
been-
every 2 to 3 years because the rates vary between
Right.
roads, but we just don't have the staff to do it every year.
Right.
So every 2 to 3 years is about the best we can do. But yes.
So you may have a subdivision that rates an 8 1 year, a subdivision that rates a 7, and at the next 2 years, when you rate those two, you may see the 8 as a 6 and the 7 is still a 7, potentially.
Yeah, that
in the
does
right
happen.
scenario.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
And so this guy, I don't know his name, I don't know who he is, but he was telling me something about concrete. I think is it a concrete or a rock or something that's in the
Soil cement. It's
soil
soil
cement,
cement is the base, yeah.
a soil cement base, and how there's issues there, and that's causing problems with the surface. So, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Mine was kind of the same thing as she just said. Emily, what would be your recommendation? Since you don't have a bias in this, you're just doing it because it's your job, not because you're trying to get votes from Sterling Place. Would you recommend Sterling Place be paved before Clark Street, before Windward Slopes, before others, and I'm putting you on the spot, but what would be your recommendation?
Let me just say this, direct your comments to the board, all right? Then we'll ask staff. if they
Okay,
want-
she's the
if
expert,
they
that's
want-
why I was
All
asking
right.
her.
I understand you direct them here.
Okay.
And we ask if they want to make comments.
Okay, you heard my question, you want to ask her?
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to make comments?
So I assigned them based on the pavement assessment. The pavement assessment for this year, I recommended Plantation Hills. Plantation Hills is getting done. And so I guess if they want to fund more road improvements, then, you know, they're making that recommendation. Going down the list, Sterling Place, if I were making the recommendation, would have probably gone a few years, but that would be based on what my typical budget is, and so they've increased it to do more improvements. So if I'm just looking at the pavement assessment, you know.
So nothing will get bumped? Nothing's going to get bumped?
Nothing's going to get bumped.
In place
Hang on a
of or
second,
be
hang on a
done
second, hang on a second. I'm going to answer something for you. Nothing's going to get bumped, but a minute ago, she also stated that her job is to look at the alligator cracking, look at the potholes and all of that, determine, she has a system set up to determine what rating they are. She does not determine what needs to be paid based on usage, based on the age of the citizens,
Or the
things
votes.
like that. You make your comments, but
And Clark
Hold till
had
later.
47 houses on your street, just so you know, you have 47 houses.
Say, get used to being interrupted.
I know,
If you don't like what he's saying.
You're out of
He
order.
will call you down, okay?
doesn't bother me to do
You
it.
can only talk if you agree with what you say.
I think everybody knows.
yeah.
I think we got the
Thank
point.
you. Appreciate it. All right.